It's like my 10th take. But anyways, I wanted to make the follow-up video because Mortem came out and I have better ways to explain what I wanted to say in the document, but this will only be a TLDR. The full explanation of everything is still in the written guide. So for 8 damage DB, RADB, you want to replace your spin cutter for a skill that builds gauge and do damage. When you do that, you can split off your skill into two groups that build gauge, so you can build them quicker and more efficiently. However, when you do this, you run into a problem, which is your timing with your Maelstrom, because when you refund your cooldown in this game, even with an ability that stacks twice, it doesn't take into account the cooldown across both stacks. It only refunds the cooldown that is left on your current stack. Like that. So essentially, when you build gauge too quickly, such as right here, you don't get the cooldown refund because the timing is mismatched. So your goal is you build your gauge in a timely manner in which the Maelstrom tick over is exactly when you search. So that is the fundamental concept of the build. Other than that, I just want to compare 7 damage and 8 damage today and some variation that I think are worthwhile to consider. I won't mention the standard 7 damage here, but I have a parse for that. I do want to point out the modified rotation for 7 damage that uses the level 10 cooldown Maelstrom in my parse. And the reason I put that at a level 10 is if you do it with a level 8 and even with a level 9, eventually your Maelstrom cooldown will still slip in a Trixion setting. So it should look something like this. And you will see very soon, as in now, that my Maelstrom has slipped. Even with a level 9, you can keep this up for longer, but eventually it will still slip. With a level 10, even if you do everything frame perfect, it will not slip. So that is the modified rotation for 7 damage. You can see the parse in the linked Google Doc. As for the 8 damage variants, the first one I want to mention is the holding Blitz Rush. And there's one thing I want to add on to that regarding holding Blitz Rush that I found out more recently and I didn't mention in the previous document. Not that anything is wrong there, but it simply is incomplete. For the lateral rotation of holding Blitz Rush that I mentioned in the previous document, I wanted the rotation to essentially simply use Maelstrom every time you see that Maelstrom is over. However, with a level 8 cooldown gem on Maelstrom, eventually you will get to a point where you don't have to pay attention to your Maelstrom at all, and you can do it with your brain off. I'll put on mana real quick. It should look something like this. And now for this rotation, I'll use Maelstrom after Earth Cleaver. And for every subsequent rotation, I can keep using Maelstrom in the same spot. One more. So this way you can play without paying as much attention, and press the same button every time. That's the only update I wanted to do for holding Bliss Rush. You can see here that I have Gold Wealth on Void Strike and Purple Wealth on Soul Absorber. I think these are very fine to switch. And you can also play this with Galewind. I would actually recommend playing the Holding Bliss Rush with Galewind because it will feel a lot better. As for the normal Bliss Rush variation, I usually play that with Wealth, especially if you're playing EBM3 and Orb Circulation 2. I would also, of course, play Soul Absorber on Gold Wealth here on normal Bliss Rush. So this is with, once again, EBM3 and Orb Circulation 2. I actually didn't even get it. Great build. But I've already shown this, so I'm just going over it really quick. Same thing, nothing really changed. And we're back at the start. Okay. So the main thing I want to mention is going for EBM2 and Orb Circulation 5. Especially with the Wealth on your Turning Slash, you can do cool things such as skipping Earth Cleaver out of your rotation. Like that. So I don't have to press Earth Cleaver. You can also do this, I'm pretty sure, with a Galewind on Bliss Rush. There you go. Just be careful. Skipping out on Earth Cleaver means that you are rotating through your surges even quicker. This means that there will be a point, especially with only a level 8 Maelstrom, in which your Maelstrom cooldown still can't keep up because you're cycling even faster. So what you can do is you can simply just put back Poison or Bleed in your Turning Slash, and then always try to use Earth Cleaver to line up the timing, and this is a completely okay setup. Other than that, playing, of course, once again, if you have a higher level Maelstrom, it makes your life a lot easier, and you can play the build um, a lot more freely, which is also why I would highly recommend playing with Orb Circulation 5. Even though it seems like you're losing damage on paper, you will probably gain damage even in a Trixion setting, um, because you won't ever really make a mistake. Other than that, if you want to try other things out, um, I would try out Moonlight Sonic or Blade Dance. Full Star, Headhunt, and Fade Away are um, shit abilities. The problem with Breaking Moon is that you can only use it once every free rotation rather than once every other rotation. And currently, this is part of our gauge building. So go and experiment. Um, I sat here and clicked Fall Star and Headhunt and Fade Away for like an hour, and that was terrible time. But go and try things out. Try out runes. Just remember the whole point, right, is for you to build your gauge, and Maelstrom is a tool that gives you extra gauge on your abilities. whatever ability you use, whatever engraving you use, as long as you can build the gauge, then you should test it out.